Hey yogis, welcome to Limitless Yoga Studio Online. My name is Kelsey Wright, and today's class is going to be mainly focused on the legs. So we're going to be doing all the different stretches for all the different aspects of the legs. So it'll get you going all in the lower body. So when you're ready, put on your favorite playlist. We're going to need 2 blocks and 2 tennis balls or 2 myofascial release balls. We're going to be doing a quad release at the very end. And then when you're ready, go ahead and lay on back. If it's most comfortable to lengthen out your legs, feel free to do so. Or you might want to start in a lower body stretch by placing the feet together into a diamond shape, knees out wide. If this position is a little bit intense or grumpy, place your blocks under your thigh bones. That's going to make it a little less intense. It's going to give you some support. So feel free to use the blocks as necessary. And then once you're ready, roll on back. Find your positioning. Notice that the closer the heels are to the body, the more of a stretch it offers. So you want to find a happy medium, something that you can breathe and relax into, something that's not too intense. A stretch, not a strain. With the palms facing open towards the ceiling, shoulder heads rolled back and down, close down the eyes and release the tension from the muscles in the face. We're going to start to build this breath in and out the nose. We want to slowly work towards our max capacity. So each inhale, you might sip up just a tiny bit more air. We want to make this relaxing, so don't overstress the breath. We don't want to make this a really crazy exercise at all. We don't want to stress anything out. So with a few more cycles of breath left, each inhale flowing in the nose, filling up the belly, the ribs, and the chest. Each exhale flowing out the nose, slow with control. We just want this nice, easy, free flow of air in and out. All right, I want you to begin to direct that breath down the body and begin to notice the legs. Just a little bit of a check-in here. The front line of the legs, which is the quads and the shins, just see if there's anything going on, whether that's good or bad, whether it's sensation or something else. Then the back line of the legs, the hamstrings and the calves, just notice again if there's a difference right versus left, or anything that you kind of put a little red flag in. And then the outer line of the legs, so this is your IT bands and the outer calves. See if there's anything going on there, if there's any tightness or different sensations. And then finally the inside of the legs, possibly where you're feeling that stretch if you're in that diamond shape. So this is that groin area and the inner calf. Just bring a little information in about the legs. We're going to reassess at the end of class. Give me one more giant cycle of breath. Inhale to your max capacity. Exhale, slow and controlled. And then fluttering open the eyes, try to keep that blank slate for the face, the relaxed jaw. Bring the knees in towards one another. Get rid of any props you're using, and I'll see you in a full body stretch. Reach the fingers, reach the toes, maybe feeling the calves firm or the quads firm here as you reach. And then gently draw the knees into the chest. Give yourself a big squeeze here. I'm going to wiggle the toes. I'm going to roll out the ankles, get out the pops and the creaks. And then we're going to massage out the low back. So as you begin to rock right and left, you might feel that little pressure change on the tailbone. If it feels better to take circles on the ceiling that kind of goes around the tailbone area, that might be beneficial. Or if the low back is extra grumpy, you can lift the head and scrub the low back area up and down. So you're going to feel the layers of muscle and tissue slide and glide against each other, kind of getting out the wrinkles and the tension. Whatever you chose, go ahead and relax the head, and we're going to push the heels up and then bring them back down. So notice the hamstrings and the calves, the back line of the legs, just kind of see what's going on here. We got 2 more big kicks. All right, and then plant the feet on the floor. Take the right hand up overhead, roll into your right side body, left hand to left foot for the quad stretch. Now, as you draw the heel to the sitting bone, make sure to firm up the belly enough that you don't feel this in the low back. We're going to try to keep the knee in line with the hip socket rather than lifting it up towards the ceiling, and then we're going to energetically pull through the kneecap. Take a big breath here. And as you slowly release that foot, you're going to straighten out that leg as you roll on to the back. You're going to put the left footprint up on the ceiling. All right. So again, back line of the leg, interlace your hands around the thigh bone. You're feeling the calf and the hamstring. Push to the heel, flex the toes down towards the shin. We want to be careful not to push too much through that right footprint. Sometimes we kind of brace. Take one more big breath here. Then on the exhale, slide your foot across the ceiling, squeeze your inner thighs together. You're going to feel this more in the IT band and the outer hip edge. Give me a breath here. Then bring this foot back to center and bend the knee. The left hand is going to guide this knee out away from the body. So now you are going to kind of want to press through that right footprint so the pelvis doesn't tilt over. We're feeling this in the inseam of the pants, that groin area, the inner line of the leg. Take a breath. And then to get the outer edge, we're going to grab right hand to left ankle, pull the footprint across the body, and you're going to feel a big, deep outer hip stretch here. Take a big breath, maybe bringing the knee in towards the heart space or moving it towards the right shoulder. All right, we're going to do that round one more time. So put your heels straight up in the sky, interlace your hands, find that hamstring stretch. Maybe it's a little nicer feeling now. Maybe you can get a little extra range of motion out of it. On your exhale, drag it across the ceiling. Find that outer edge of the leg, so kind of that IT band area, squeezing the inner thighs together. Then bringing it back to center, bend the knee. You're welcome to repeat taking the knee out, or if you want a little more, you can take the hand to the ankle and find that half happy baby shape. Press down through the right footprint. Left footprint is up on the ceiling. Give me a breath here. And then one more time, cross the body. Right hand grabs that ankle, pull it over, and then adjust the angle as needed to find that really nice, big, deep outer hip stretch. Take a big breath here. And then slowly release that footprint to the floor. Take a second to notice the difference between the legs, how they're feeling, whether there's increased blood flow on one side or one feels lighter or longer or heavier. Then take the left arm up overhead. We're going to roll onto the left side. We're going to do everything here on the other side. Right hand to right foot. We've got that quad stretch. Now, if you can't reach the foot, no big deal. You can either use a yoga strap or just pretend like you can hold on to it. Draw the heel to the sitting bone, kneecap in line with the hip socket. Take a breath. And then as you release this leg, you're going to straighten it out and swing it up towards the ceiling. So you land with that footprint up on the ceiling tiles. I'm going to interlace behind my thigh bone, press to the heel, and find the back line of the leg. So from the sitting bone all the way through the back of the knee and the back of the heel. You might notice if something feels tighter, closer to the knee or closer to the sitting bone, that's good information to have. Slide it across the ceiling, squeeze the inner thighs together. Find that outer edge of the hip, from the outer hip all the way down to the outer knee. Big breath here. And then bring it back center and bend the knee. Right hand's going to guide the knee out away from the body, so finding that groin stretch. Maybe noticing if you feel it more towards the inner hip or more towards the inner knee. Then for the outer hip, that left hand's going to grab the ankle, pull the footprint across, kind of squeezing the inner thighs together, and then adjusting the angle as needed to find that big strap across the glutes. One of my favorite stretches. Take a big breath here. And we're going to do that all again. All right, foot straight up to the ceiling, press to the heel. Notice that there's a little bit more give. Try not to press into the left footprint. Take a big breath through the back line of the leg. Then exhale, squeeze the inner thighs together, move the leg across the body. Now you've got the outer line, outer edge of the leg. Bring it back to center, bend the knee. Maybe you're going to take the right hand to the right knee, or maybe the right hand to the right ankle if you'd like a little deeper inner hip stretch. That half happy baby with the footprint up on the ceiling. Give me a big breath here. And then last but not least, left hand to the ankle, pull it across the body, adjust the angle as needed. Find that very best stretch for you across the outer hips, and give me a breath. All right, release that footprint down. Again, notice the legs hopefully feeling a little more symmetrical, and then bring the knees into the chest. We're going to rock and roll up and down a few times. Just get the brain and body online, each and every vertebrae, and then we'll pop up to a seated position and sit up nice and tall. Relax the chin down towards the chest. We're going to roll out the neck. So go slow here. Keep the shoulder blades heavy down the back. Try not to skip any areas. And then at least one in the opposite direction, but feel free to take more if you're finding something really good to work with. Once you feel like you've loosened all that up, we're going to inhale, hands to the back of the head. Exhale, take the elbows down towards the floor, and then I want you to inhale, tilt the heart up towards the ceiling as if you're leaning back in your chair. Inhale down to the floor. Exhale all the way up. One more. Inhale down. Exhale up. And then come back to a nice neutral spine. From here, we're going to take a little twisting action, heart to the right, heart to the left. We're just trying to knock off some of the tension and rust from that mid-back area. One more right, one more left, and then pause. Take that right elbow up sky high and drag it across the ceiling for the side body stretch. Then switch it out. Left elbow goes up nice and high. One more in each direction. Right elbow for the side body. And then switch it to the left. All right, back to center. We're going to put all this together. Ready? Go forward, side, back, and all the way back to your starting position. Take one more big circle like that. Keep the sitting bones grounded. We're mainly rotating through the upper portion of the spine. Once you're looking down at the mat, pause, hit the rewind button, head over in the opposite direction, maybe increasing the range of motion or feeling how one is different than the other. After your 2 in both directions, you're going to pause, release the hands, and then roll it on over to hands and knees. However you need to get there. We're going to stack it up in tabletop, shoulders on top of wrists, hips on top of knees. Spread those fingers out and look at your thumbs. On your inhale, gently drop the belly towards the floor. On your exhale, push into the palms, arch the spine, and tuck the tailbone towards the nose. All right, as you flow from head to tail here, the idea is to be mindful that there's a lot of moving parts here. So we want each and every vertebrae to get some movement. We're not over-exaggerating anything, but we're also making sure that each and every part is working and doing its job. We got one more up and down to bring a little blood flow through the spine. And then we'll bring it back down to a nice neutral position. We're going to stick the right foot out back behind us, press through the heel to get that calf stretch, and then you might take a peek back and check that heel's in line with the sitting bone. Its tendency is to spin towards the midline of the mat. Feel free to add in a little extra if you want to put the left foot energetically pressing down on the right heel. You want to stay buoyant in the shoulders. Try not to lock out in either position. Take a big breath. And then exhale with that left knee on the floor. We're going to step the right foot to the right pinky finger. As we lunge forward, you're going to feel this a little bit in the front line of the left leg. As you pull back, you're going to feel this in the back line of the right leg. Bring it forward, find that inner hip. And then as you pull back, find that outer edge, hamstring and calf. We got one more forward, one more back. And then next time you come forward, pause. Right hand's going to take a giant windmill towards the back of your mat. So we want the full range of motion of your shoulder here. Or take 3 total. Big windmill, getting any crackles here. Keep the shoulder blade down the back. One more big range of motion. All right. With the hands down, we're going to sweep that right foot back, sweep that right hand up, heel to tush. Maybe you're able to reach back and find the quad stretch. Keep the belly firm enough that you don't feel this in the low back. Take a big breath, knee in alignment with the hip. And then slowly release what you have, and I'll see you back down on hands and knees. All right, we're going to slide the hips over to the right, and then very slowly start to create this arc of motion all the way down booty to heels. Once you're down there, you're going to sweep the hips over to the left, and then finish off that circle. If there's anything interesting, you're welcome to hang on to it. Opposite direction, head over to the left, and just slowly swing in that arc, finding anything that is cranky to hang on to for a breath. Bring it all the way back, and we'll begin the second side. Take the left foot back, step it back for that calf stretch. You might take a peek back and check out that heel alignment. Maybe the right foot chooses to climb up on top and add direction and energy down towards the floor. Big breath here, being mindful of those shoulders since they're carrying the weight. And then with that right knee down, we're going to step the left foot to the left pinky finger. Okay. Slowly bring yourself forward into that low lunge, and then pull back booty towards the heels. So you're feeling this in maybe the right hip flexor or the left groin. And then as you bring it back, feeling it more in the back line of the leg, hamstring and calves. It's important to recognize the difference between the sides. So always notice if one side's a little tighter than the other. Next time you're forward, pause. Left hand's going to take a giant windmill all the way to the back of your mat, and then all the way forward. Take 2 more. Keep that breath work in and out the nose. Big belly breaths. 1 more. And then bring those hands down. You're going to sweep the left foot back, sweep the left hand up, keep your gaze down. Maybe you choose to grab the foot, maybe just bend the knee and draw the heel towards the sitting bone. Big breath here as you energetically pull the kneecap straight into the back of the room. And then as you slowly release, I'll see you on hands and knees. All right, one more outer hip stretch here. Take the hips over to the right and then play with the angles. Find what's best for you. If you want to increase that, the left foot's going to curtsy across, kind of pushing the toenails out away from you. Big breath here. And then bring yourself back to hands and knees. Slide the hips over to the left. Again, play with the angles. It's going to make a big difference. So you want to find the one that's perfect for you. And then if you want to increase that intensity, you can curtsy the right foot across and drag the toes further away from you. Just an option. You don't have to take it. I'm going to offer lots of options throughout class. So always know that take what you need and leave the rest. Okay, back on hands and knees. We're going to lower all the way to the belly. Right hand to right foot for the quad stretch. Draw the heel to the sitting bone. Keep the kneecap in line with the hip socket. Belly is firm, so imagine lifting the belly button up off the mat. And then remember this stretch because we're going to do it at the very end of class, so it's just going to give you some feedback of exactly how much you've influenced the legs at the end. Slowly release without slingshotting the leg. Extend the right arm forward like a karate chop. We're going to be lifting the right arm and the left leg up and down. Keep the belly button lifted up off the floor. And then as you lift and you lower, you really want this left sitting bone area to be doing the work rather than this area around the tailbone. Okay, bring the hands back to center, switch it out. Left hand to left foot, draw the heel into the sitting bone, and try to avoid that big swing of the knee out to the side, which is pretty common. Nose is pretty close to the floor, and belly is firm enough not to feel the effects in the low back. Big breath here. Again, memorizing the right versus the left, kind of just the feel of this stretch, your range of motion. And then as you release, take that left karate chop forward. With the firm belly, you're going to lift the left arm and the right foot. Now, this isn't about how high you can get up off the floor. It's more about that control of firing this glute correctly. So think about the right sitting bone rather than this right side of the tailbone. Last one up and down, and then done. Hands to the rib cage. You're going to bend both knees, and then you're going to slowly rock the feet right and left. Now, you can absolutely keep the belly firm if you need to, if you're feeling anything in the low back. If it feels okay to soften it so that you can get a little bigger range of motion, go ahead. Just a massage over the quads, a little movement on the hips. And then as those toes come down, we're going to keep the toes curled, rise up to hands and knees. And then as you drop the butt to the heels, I want you to push through the heels so you're getting that foot stretch. So think about a stretch on the balls of the feet or the arches of the feet. Okay, and then you're going to begin to bear weight in the hands, so prep the shoulders. You're going to lift the knees just enough to push more through the heels, so feeling more through the feet. And then I want you to ever so slowly begin to straighten the legs, feeling the stretch on the feet, then through the Achilles, then through the calves, slowly rising up the calves as you continue to straighten through the back of the knees, and then eventually that stretch will land more towards the hamstrings as you straighten out the legs. Okay, take a big breath here. And then as many steps as you need to get to the top of the mat. I'm going to bend the knees so that I can rise up, stand up, press the heels, and lift. All right, go ahead and gather up your blocks. Take them to the top of the mat. We want them about shoulder distance apart here. And then if you've done my classes before with sundis and vinyasas and standing poses, great. Please don't go on autopilot here. We're going to be doing some different movements, some different sequencing. So yeah. Hang on to your hats. Here we go. Feet hip distance apart, top of the mat. Inhale, fill up the lungs. Exhale, hands to the blocks. Relax the chin to the chest. As you press to the heels to find your hamstring stretch, let's stack the hips over the heels. Now, if your knees are bent here, that's perfectly fine, but continue to push through the heels. If your legs are straight, you can bend the elbows to give yourself a little bit more. Give me a big breath. And then exhale, everybody bend the knees, plant the hands. Right foot comes back, drop the right knee. Now you may or may not need the blocks here as we straighten out the front leg to find that hamstring and calf. And then you may want to walk the blocks forward to find that right hip flexor. Okay, we've got 3 total rounds. You can always take the blocks down to a lower setting or not use them at all. It's completely up to you. One more without locking out the knee. And then bring yourself forward. Pause. We're going to inhale, rise up, stack the shoulders on top of the hips, hands on top of the hips as you tuck the tailbone. Now fiercely tuck the tailbone, really scoop the pelvis, and then as you lean forward, you're going to feel a much deeper hip flexor. This is your psoas, this is deep to the bone, so keep scooping the bum underneath you as you lean forward. Take a big breath here. And then go ahead and slowly bring yourself back to neutral. As the hands come down, right hand plants, left hand comes up, left foot goes back. Quad stretch, heel to tush. Keep the gaze down, keep the belly firm. Big inhale here. And then exhale, as you release, you're going to kick that foot all the way to the top of the mat. Lift your back knee, lift your left hand. Slide that footprint halfway back, all 10 toes to point towards the side of the mat. Keep a strong supported shoulder as you drop that right hip just enough to feel that IT band area. Big breath here. And then as the hands come down, left foot goes up into the sky. Fire through your right heel. Feel that right calf. Make sure it's not spinning inwards. And then step your foot all the way to the top of the mat. Immediately walk to the middle of your mat, all 10 toes in the same direction, hips on top of heels as you find forward fold. Now notice which side feels different here because we've done a lot of work on that right that we haven't on the left. Take a big breath. And then walk yourself forward. Once you're at the top of the mat, step yourself forward, feet hip distance apart. Bend the knees, inhale, rise up, get nice and tall. Second side, exhale, hands to the blocks. So you have your options, stack the hips over the heels. Feel free to bend the knees, but keep pushing through the heels, or feel free to bend the elbows to increase the stretch. Take a breath. All right, everybody bend the knees, hands come down. Left foot goes back, drop the knee. Okay, grab the blocks if you need them. 3 rounds of that Ardha Hanuman half splits, and then bring it forward and find that left hip flexor as it drops. 2 more, bring it down. Try not to lock out that knee. It just feels kind of crummy on the joint. Bring it forward. We got 1 more round. Back line of that right leg. front line of that left leg. Inhale, rise up, get tall through the spine. Exhale, hands to the hips. Deeply tuck the tailbone, scooping it before you lean forward. As you continue to scoop the bum, you're going to feel it way more in that left hip crease, way down deep to the bone. Take a breath. Okay, bring yourself back to neutral as the hands come down. Right foot sweeps back as the right hand sweeps up. Quad stretch, heel to tush, reach it on back. Knee in line with the hip, firm enough belly here so you don't feel this in the low back. Take a breath for me. And then exhale, slowly release. Sweep that right foot all the way back to the top of the mat. Pause here. We're going to lift the back knee. Right hand comes up. Right foot goes halfway back. Turn all 10 toes to point to the side of the mat. Now keep this strong supported shoulder as you drop the hip to find that IT bend. We don't want to sag into the shoulder. Big breath. And then as the hands come down, right foot's going to go sky high. Press to the left heel. Find that calf stretch on the left. Big breath. And then step your foot all the way through. Walk to the middle of your mat, all 10 toes in the same direction. Take a forward fold. Relax the chin to the chest. No wrinkles in the back of the neck. Hips stacked on top of heels, and then double check that we're not spilling to the outer edges or caving to the insides. We want to square off that foot. Take a breath. All right, walk yourself all the way to the top of the mat. Look forward, step forward, feet hip distance apart. Bend the knees, rise up, chair pose, pressing through the heels, rising up all the way into mountain. Inhale. Exhale, next round, hands to the blocks. Take your forward fold, chin to chest, hips on heels, micro bend the knees if you need to. Take a breath. All right, right foot's gonna step back. Maybe you drop the knee, maybe you use blocks, but we're gonna straighten out this front leg. So I'm offering the deeper version here with the knee up off the floor, but you can have blocks, do the exact same as we did last round, or use the blocks to increase a bit. All right, take a big breath here. And then blocks or no blocks, up to you. We're going to come into that lunge. So your back knee's lifted, drop the right hips, press through that back heel. Big breath here to feel a little deeper in that hip flexor stretch. All right, then anchor into that right shoulder. Sweep that left foot back, full side plank. Keep the shoulder firm as you drop the hips into that IT band stretch. Okay, bring it back to full plank. Press back into down dog, firing through the heels. Right foot reaches up overhead. Press through your left heel. Take a big breath. I'm going to go heel to tush to open up through the inner hips. And then step that foot all the way through. Immediately coming to the middle of the mat. We're going to go heels in, toes out this time. I'm going to sway right and left, feeling those inner hip stretches. Right and left. All right, we're going to walk ourselves all the way to the top of the mat. Look forward, step forward, feet hip distance apart. Bend the knees, press to the heel, rise up, chair pose, press right up into mountain. Inhale. Exhale, forward fold, hips stacked on top of heels. Find your positioning of that forward fold. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, left foot steps back. All right, maybe you drop the back knee. Maybe you grab the blocks. Maybe you straighten out that front leg with the back knee lifted. Lots of choices here, and it's fine to do one on one side and one on the other, especially if you're dealing with an injury. And then bring yourself forward. Everybody lift that back knee, drop into that hip flexor, punch through the back heel. Absolutely use the blocks underneath your hands if necessary. Take a big breath here. All right, anchor through that left shoulder, right hand comes up. Step all the way into side plank, hips nice and high. And then with that strong shoulder drop, that left hip, find that IT band area. Okay, bring it into plank, press back into down dog. This time left foot sweeps up, toes pointed down, reach through that right heel, and then drop the left heel to tush, reach across, feel that openness. Try not to flare open that left armpit. All right, sweep that foot all the way through, immediately walk to the middle of your mat. This time isolating the sides, only the right toes turn out, walk on over and pause. So we're putting the weight through our heels, through our sitting bones. If the knee goes way over the toes, you might want to wiggle the toes further out and get you a deeper stretch. Then walking to center, right toes go normal, left toes turn out. Walk on over, press to the heel, keep the weight through the sitting bones. Adjust the knee if necessary, take a breath. And then you're going to continue to walk forward. A little different, we're going to slide back into down dog. Okay, feet are going to go mat, distance apart, heels in, toes out. Bend the knees. And then begin to walk the hands back, firing through the heels as much as possible. Maybe eventually the heels come down. It's okay if they don't. Coming up into Malasana. Place the elbows into the thigh bones, press them apart, sit up nice and tall through the spine. We want to try to put emphasis on the pinky toe side of the foot so we're not caving to the inside of the ankles. Big breath up the spine. And then exhale, hands down, hips up. Turn the heels out so your feet are at least mat distance apart. Bend the knees, find a ragdoll. Pinkies into elbow creases, relax the chin to the chest. So for some of us, we want to take our feet wider, especially if we're taller. For some of us, we might want to bend the knees more, especially if we're stiff in the back or hips. And then as you hang here, dangling the spine between the thigh bones, I want you to let gravity turn your spine into a slinky. So just surrender to gravity. Take a big breath from the tail to the crown of the head. One more. All right. You're going to keep the feet this wide as you drop the palms and walk it forward into down dog. So your hands will take the weight. Heels are wide. Push through your heels. Bend the knees. Drop the forearms. So it's a wide-legged dolphin. Now, with your weight through the elbows, I want you to keep the knees bent. Push through your heels. Okay, we're riding this stretch up the back of the legs. So as you push the heels, hopefully feeling in the feet, the Achilles area. And then as you slowly start to straighten out the legs, you're going to feel that stretch go up the calves, back of the knee, and then eventually hamstrings. Press the sitting bones back. Take a big breath. All right. As you drop the knees, we're going to make sure that the knees are hip distance apart, and then curl your toes under. We'll walk the hands on back, transferring weight for that foot stretch. Hands can remain on the mat or climb up to the thigh bones. All right, take a big breath. If you need a little extra, you can walk the kneecaps forward, but the idea is to get this really nice, big, healthy stretch up the back line of the feet. One more big breath here. All right, placing the hands back down on the mat. Toes are curled. Slowly lift the knees, fire through the heels, push, 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 all the way riding that stretch up through the back line of the legs. Okay, looking forward, stepping forward, top of the mat. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, get tall. Exhale, hands to the blocks. Bend the elbows if necessary. If the knees are bent, keep pressing through the heels. Take a breath through the back line of the legs. All right, you're gonna take the right ankle in front of the left. Stay buoyant in the knees as you walk the blocks over to the right. Now push your left hip out away from you. Keep the neck relaxed. Keep breathing. If you need more of a stretch, you can take the blocks down a notch. If it's really intense, just bend the knees a bit more. All right, bring those blocks back to center, uncross, hip distance apart, and then switch. Left ankle, bend the knees, walk it on over. Relax the chin to the chest and just let the right hip kind of sass out to the side. Decide if you need to make adjustments with the blocks or the knees. Give me another cycle of breath. All right, with the blocks back to center, go ahead and come back to feet hip distance apart. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, fold, right foot steps back. This time, spin the back heel down, pressure through the heel, rise up, warrior two, stacking the shoulders on top of the hips. Now make sure 5 toes are pointing forward, knee goes to the middle of the foot. We want to sink down until we find that stretch in the inseam of the pants on that left. Take a big inhale here. Then straighten out the front leg, reach forward and down, sliding the hand down the shin until you find your hamstring stretch. Broaden the chest, reach the fingers up towards the ceiling. Try not to dump into the neck. Big inhale here. Okay, rise up, reach up, straight arms, straight legs. Lengthen the spine here. Okay, on your exhale, you're going to cartwheel forward, look at your blocks, spin that back heel up, bend, push, lift, standing splits. This is going to increase that hamstring stretch. Keep the toes pointed down. Big breath here up the back of the leg. And then I want you to bend that right knee and reach the toes fiercely across, kind of like a scorpion tail, seeing if you can feel a bit more in the groin area of both legs. Take a big breath. All right, from here, feet are going to land hip distance apart. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, left foot steps back. Spin the back heel down. Anchor through the heels, rise up and stack the shoulders on top of the hips. Reach through the fingers. Firm belly here. Take a big inhale. Exhale, sink it down until you feel that stretch on the inner hips. Take one more breath. And then straighten out the front leg. Reach forward and down. Hands going to slide down. Pressure through the ball of the foot. Spiraling the rib cage up towards the ceiling. Reaching the fingers out of the shoulder sockets and lengthening through the crown of the head. Rise up, reach up. Lengthen the spine upwards. And then as you cartwheel forward, spin that back heel up. Bend, push, lift. Standing splits. Looking back to make sure those back toes are behaving and pointing down. Find that big stretch up the right hamstring. And then bend that left knee and reach across, feeling it all in the inner hips, maybe even a little bit on the hip flexor of the left. Take a big breath as you reach across. And a little different here, we're going to reach the left toes all the way to the very back of the mat. You're going to sweep the right foot up into the sky. Bring the right knee in and across for pigeon, dropping the shin comfortably across the mat. Drop the back knee and then begin to wiggle the toes on back. We want a straight line from sitting bone to big toe. And then as we come down, we want a relatively flat low back. If you're feeling a pretty big slope to the right, let's grab a block. Or if you're feeling a lot of intensity in the stretch, let's grab a block and wedge it underneath the right sitting bone. From here, check in on your breath. Make sure that you're still inhaling deeply, belly, ribs, and chest. You're still exhaling completely, squeezing out all that old air. Now we're going to be here for about 2 more cycles of breath, and then I'm going to turn this into a couple variations of a quad stretch. So just know that as I offer these options, just stop when you need to stop. Take the options that you need. All right, so staying on the forearms, I'm going to firm up the belly a little bit and take the heel to the tush. And I'm just going to take a couple kicks and make sure that's okay. Now, if this is giving you a pretty good stretch, I just want you to stay here. You're good to go. If things are feeling okay, I'm going to rise up to the palms, firm up the belly more, heel to tush. And I can stay right here. If this is all feeling okay, then maybe it's heel to tush, left hand reaches back, draws the heel to the sitting bone. This is a giant quad stretch, so again, don't take it unless it feels available to you. Okay, as I slowly release, everybody's going to meet me on their palms, curl the toes, slide back into down dog. Okay, lengthen it out. Your feet are hip distance apart. We're going to drop down to our forearms for dolphin. So this time, because our feet are a little closer together, it might be a little more intense up the hamstring. So feel free to take the feet wider like we did the first round. And then push to the heels. That's going to get your calves. And push the sitting bones back a little bit more. And that's really going to get the hamstrings. You got one more big breath here. And then if you need to drop the knees to bring it back up to the palms, feel free. We'll do the second side. Left knee comes in, sweep the shin across, drop the back knee, wiggle it on back. Absolutely use a block if you need. We're going to check a straight line down through the big toe, flat-ish across that low back, just so we're not dumping all of our weight through one side of that SI joint. We want to keep the low back happy. Come back into that breath work. Maybe you feel the belly expanding against that left leg. And then again, choose to stay on the forearms and just take the heel to the tush. It's perfectly fine. Slowly stretching out that quad. If that's okay, I'm going to reach up to the palms, firm up the belly, heel to tush. If that feels okay, maybe I'll build on and grab a hold. Belly is firm, so this isn't felt in the low back. Take a big breath here. And then as you slowly release, curl the toes, everybody on the palms, everybody slide back into down dog, lengthen, and then drop to the knees. All right, I'm going to take my right foot back, toenails down, pointy toes. Press down and pull forward so you feel this really nice stretch up the front line of the leg. So you're thinking top of the ankle, up the shin, maybe even base of the knee. Feel free to play with a bend of the knee. Sometimes that influences the stretch. You've got one more big breath, pressing down and pulling forward at the same time. And then switch it on out. Left foot goes back. Press down through the top of the foot, pull forward, kind of like you're trying to slide your foot up your mat. Noticing if there's difference between the sides. One more big breath right up the shin area. And then hands and knees. All right, firm up the shoulders, ready for plank. Stepping on back, press back, down dog. Walk it out if you need to. All right, here we go. Inhale, right toes up into the sky. Drop the heel to the tush without opening up that right armpit. Reach. Now kick your foot all the way over to the left. Keep a straight leg. We're going to slide the toes as far forward as what's comfortable. And then I want you to look to your right. So you're twisting the torso towards the right, which is going to get you a tremendous outer hip stretch and IT band area on the right leg. Okay, sweeping the right foot back up into the sky. Exhale, kick it all the way through between the hands. Now punch through your heels, firm up your core, rise up, crescent pose. Shoulder blades are down the back as you lengthen the spine. Big inhale here. Exhale, get a little bit lower so you're feeling that in the front line, so that hip flexor area. One more breath. All right, look at your blocks. Bend, push, lift, standing splits. Lift up, find that hamstring stretch on the right for a breath. Then bend the knee, and you can stay here like we did last time, or maybe that right hand goes fishing. You can grab the foot, turn it into quad stretch. I'm going to direct that kneecap up towards the ceiling rather than back behind me. Take a big breath here. And then I'll slowly release the toes all the way to the very back of the mat. Okay, slide it on back, find your down dog, lengthen it out, second side. Inhale, left toes up. Drop the heel to the tush without flaring that left armpit, and then exhale, kick it all the way over to the right. Take your foot forward, and then look over to your left, so you're spiraling the upper body in the opposite direction than the lower body. Big IT fan stretch. Woo. And then inhale, left toes up. Exhale, kick it through. Push your energy through your heels. Firm up the core as you rise up and find that long spine. Big inhale here. Exhale, drop down. Feeling that right hip flexor. Take a breath. And then look at your blocks. Bend, push, lift. Find that standing splits, relaxing the tension out of the neck. Once you find that hamstring stretch on the left, then you're going to bend, heel to tush. Find that inner hip stretch. You can choose to stay there. Or that left hand can kind of fish around. Maybe he finds the foot. It's okay if he doesn't. Directing the kneecap up towards the ceiling. Take a big breath in that quad stretch. All right. Slowly release the toes all the way to the very back of the mat. Slide back into down dog. Lengthen it out one last time. Hopefully feeling a difference to the backs of the legs. And then dropping the knees. All right, to go ahead and find your tennis balls or your myofascial release balls. You can get rid of the blocks, kind of scooch them out of your way. And then what we want to do here is we're going to lay on the belly. We're going to place the tennis balls right here above the kneecaps. They're going to be in line with the the hip points, so you can follow them down. So they're going to start right there. So as they come down, I'm going to place one at a time. And then once I've got it, I can create a nice pillow here with my forearms. All right, so take a big breath, and if it's comfortable, flatten out your toes as if you're in cobra. But if you need to keep the toes curled under for ankle reasons, that's fine. Big breath here. Soften the muscles of the legs. Melt the quads. Right now, your body is telling you to tense them up because of the pressure they feel, so you gotta relax them. All right, staying just as relaxed. You're going to slowly draw the right heel towards the booty, and it's not about getting the heel to the butt, it's about finding that arc of motion, and if there's anything really interesting to hang out on, then you're going to pause and do so. Once the sensation fades, you can finish that arc, heel to tush, and then put it back down. Now, if there was a lot of sensation, if you're like, whoa, there was definitely stuff going on, then I might do that a few times. Then I want to explore the left side, and it's going to be completely different. So slowly feel out that range of motion. See, on this side, I definitely get further into my range of motion before I feel the stickiness. And it doesn't feel near as intense. My right side is definitely a little grumpier here. Okay? So once I've explored that spot, I'm ready to move up the quads. So I'm going to push into my pillow here and wiggle down. And my quads are immediately going to want to tense up again. So relax, release, chill, wait for the softening of the muscle before you then start that heel to tush. Now, as you start to roll up towards the thicker part of the quad, the wider part of the quad, ooh, that was a good one there, you're going to have another motion available to you. So I'm going to do one more here. That is interesting. It's a good spot for me to hang on to and breathe. I'm going to wait for the sensation to fade before I move on. And if you're still in that first spot by the knee, that's completely fine, because some of us will have gunk there, especially if you're maybe a runner or a cyclist. For others of us, you might have way more gunk in the middle of the quads. All right, so work that out. I'm going to curl the toes under and just slowly windshield wiper the heels right and left. And what this does is it just kind of rolls the quad, the width of the quad, over the tennis balls, which gives you a little bit more territory to cover. So it could be productive. Maybe it doesn't feel like anything, but that motion is available to you. I'm ready to move on to the next spot. That doesn't mean that you have to. I'm going to move on. I'm going to relax the toes. I'm going to find that relaxation response by waiting for the muscles to kind of soak up the tennis balls and the myofascial release balls. And then whenever I'm ready, ooh, that's a good spot. I'm going to go heel to tush. So for me, the further I go up my quad, the more sensitive it's getting. And we're spending about a total of like 4 minutes here. The idea is not necessarily to get all the way up to the, the hip points. We might not make it all the way there. The idea is just to address your points of tension and scrub out your areas that you feel necessary in the time that you have. So now that I'm in that kind of thicker part of the quad, I definitely want to go back and forth and just see if there's anything good. And if there is something, maybe I just hang on to it for a minute. I've kind of hooked my quad on the tennis ball on the side, and it's giving me some feedback. So I might hang out there. So you have just a little bit more time. Move at your own pace. You don't have to wait for me to tell you to move back. And again, you don't want to rush. If you're getting something good, then stay with it. But you also don't want to waste time. So if you've truly investigated a spot and you are good to go, then yeah, move on. And it's always worth noting if there's one side substantially different than the other. There's always going to be a little bit of difference between sides that's expected, but if you've got one side that is markedly different, it's your body's way of giving you signals that there's something asymmetrical, whether that's the way you sit or the way you sleep or the way you're using your muscles. There's something that's kind of dysfunctional on one side, and it's your body's way of saying you might need to address this before it gets so asymmetrical that it causes pain and problems. So always worth the time and effort to figure out if there's something going on. Okay, I just have about 5 more cycles of breath here, addressing any last little bits that you can. And at the end of the day, being completely still is fantastic for the health of the tissue. So if you just find a spot and you just breathe and relax and no movement at all, brilliant. Do it. All right, I want you to spend about 2 or 3 more cycles of breath, getting any last little spots necessary. And then reach back, take out one ball at a time. I'm just going to keep in my hands for a second and recreate that pillow. Take a second to feel out the texture of the muscles, toenails down if possible. Feel out if the tissue feels longer, softer, more relaxed. Just take a second and recognize the work that you did. And then taking the tennis balls off to the side, we're going to do that same exact quad stretch that we did at the beginning of class that I told you to remember. So take that right hand back, grab a hold, and then notice if there's anything different. Is the range of motion more? Does it just feel better, more relaxed, longer? How does the knee feel versus the hip point? And slowly release and switch it out. Is there a sensation that's gone? Do the sides feel more symmetrical? Just give the brain that feedback. And then release. All right, we're going to flip over for Shavasana. So if you need to adjust the lights, adjust the music, definitely adjust the props as necessary. And then it's nice to end in a symmetrical pose. So if you want to take a full body stretch, if you want to bring the knees into the chest, maybe a happy baby if you want. And then once you've found that symmetry, go ahead and bring yourself down into your Shavasana. I know it's easy to skip Shavasana on online classes, but this is so very crucial to help that really big part of adding in the nervous system to yoga on and off the mat. So finding your position, relax the muscles of the face, coming back into that breath, recognizing that your breath sends signals to your nervous system. So you want to make sure that you're sending the right ones. Long, slow, controlled cycles of breath are going to send the signals that you are grounded and relaxed, that you're calm, and that you're ready to be still. Take as many cycles of breath that you need to build up to that max capacity and to get comfortable with that flow in and out the nose. Then you might choose to take that breath down the body and begin to scan for sensations. This is the idea that you are taking inventory head to toe, giving the brain the information about what's going on in the body. Maybe you can feel the shoulder blades press against the floor. Maybe you can feel the temperature difference between the hands and the feet. Maybe you can feel the weight of jewelry on the wrist. And then as you continue to breathe down the body, you might have your single point of focus today be the idea that you're going to take in as much information as possible and choose to do nothing about it. As you breathe down the body, you feel a wrinkle in the clothes, but rather than adjusting it, you're going to stay still. You breathe down the body, maybe noticing a drop of sweat, but instead of wiping it away, you're going to choose to remain still. This is this really important skill that we need off the mat, where the body can take in information, choose to pause and process it before it then responds. A lot of times the body takes in information and reacts quickly, almost like a knee-jerk reaction, and it's not always the best thing for us to do. Life's going to throw a lot of things at you. You want the ability to take it in, pause, process, and then react appropriately. So for the next few moments here, you might choose to inhale and exhale up and down the body, searching for the tiniest bit of sensation or detail. Take it in, and then choose to remain still and do nothing. Keeping your eyes closed, you might choose to take in just one more piece of information, one more opportunity for your brain to practice the idea of pausing and responding. And then as you begin to wiggle fingers and toes, see if you can notice the difference in the legs, scanning the front line, quads and shins, the back line, hamstrings and calves, the outer edges, IT bands and outer calves, and the inside, groin area and inner calves. Noticing the work that you put in, go and slowly reach up into a full body stretch, lengthen out the spine, and exhale, draw the knees into the chest. Feel free to make any movements necessary here, and then we'll slowly take our time rolling on to the right side. This is our chance to hit the reset button, to inhale, bring in all this good calm energy so that we can finish our day in a strong and positive way, and exhale anything that we wish to leave behind that shouldn't follow us off the mat. When we have what we need, we're going to slowly rise up to a seated position, sitting up nice and tall in the spine, hands to heart center, chin towards the chest. Thank you so very much for dedicating some time out of your day to movement and stillness, to breath work, to mindfulness, and to recognize just how important yoga is both on the mat and off the mat. It was my honor to lead you through class. Namaste.